Wartales. This game is not what I expected. Hello and welcome to the Criticuculus. Today we're going to be doing a first impression / review of Wartales. Now, full disclosure, I've actually only spent 13 hours inside this game. Now, in a lot of games, that would be enough to give you a really good insight, a really good idea and feel of what this game is. However, Wartales actually happens to be a hell of a lot bigger than I anticipated. But still, within my Discord, within the comments in my channel, I did actually have quite a few people saying, hey, you should play Wartales. So I picked it up and had a go. Now, my first impressions of this game is that it reminded me massively of Mount & Blade Warband. Now, within Wartales, you take on a role of a band of mercenaries. This is a tactical, turn-based, open-world RPG. You and your mercenaries walk across, scavenge across the open world, exploring and opening new areas. You get to visit towns, visit mills, visit taverns. You get to visit jails. You get to encounter wildlife and dynamic weather and bandits. And there's also a lot of extra things thrown in along the way too. And during your exploration, trying to make your fistful of gold, you need to manage your mercenaries. And there's a lot to that as well as recruiting brand new mercenaries, looking for the skills you need, making sure you assign the correct jobs to the mercenaries you have, depending on what you need done in camp and what you would like to accomplish throughout your world, whether that be blacksmithing or woodcutting or having a good feast. You also need to feed your mercenaries and pay your mercenaries. If you don't feed them, they will starve. If you don't pay them, they're gonna leave. And along the way, you get to build things for your camp as well, whether that be a nice hitching post for you and your ponies, a cooking pot that allow you to make better food, or even a banner to show exactly who you and your band of mercenaries actually are. Now, as you explore this world and get into fights, your troops will also level up, and the leveling system is pretty interesting because along the way you get to assign new skill points and unlock new skills and abilities too. You also get to kit out your mercenaries in whatever kind of gear that you manage to find or buy along the way. All in all, Wartales is a hell of a lot more complex and in-depth than first meets the eye. I feel like what I liked most about the first few hours of this game is that I never really knew what I was gonna get. Unfortunately, this game has pretty much no tutorial whatsoever, and it leaves you, the player, to explore and find the different elements of this game as it comes in. Now, trying to work out the different jobs and making sure that I had enough companions for the different things that there are to do in the game was just one thing. And of course, if you have 6, 7, 8 plus companions, all with different jobs, then of course the more companions you have, the more food you're going to need in order to sort them out, the more supplies you're going to need to sort them out, because after battles those troops are going to need fixing up. Their armor is going to need repairing. And it kind of puts you into this catch-22. You always want more troops, you always want more things, and if you're always going to have these things, you're going to need more money. You're going to need money to buy food, to buy supplies, to buy medicine, and it's this really good kind of gaming loop that it has. Now, there are many towns scheduled throughout this world where you can buy these supplies, but there's also places where you can collect different missions as well. And of course, it will tell you whether the mission is an average difficulty, easy, or just really bloody hard. But it will also tell you the amount of rewards that you're going to get for that as well. Now, one thing this game does do is when you very first start, you get the ability to choose how you want to play the game. There is a way where it kind of unlocks the entire map for you, and you're able to go anywhere you want, and all of the enemies will level with you. And then there is the kind of gated world where different zones have different ability troops or different leveled troops, and of course you don't really want to be wandering in them if you are under leveled. That's the kind of one that I played in. I found that I was able then to go back down to the easier areas, farm everything I needed down there, and then move back into the harder areas. All in all, I've had an absolute ball with this game. The combat is turn-based. Now, if you're familiar with this channel, we're very familiar with turn-based games. And all of the mechanics that you can expect to find in that is here in this game as well. One of the small features, like surrounding an enemy by having 3 players around them, and that gives you an advantage in your attacks. That also gives you the ability to then knock out, capture, and then take, for instance, that bandit to jail. But you do have your swordsmen and your brutes. You have your archers, which are the only ranged units in this game, unfortunately. And on top of the humanoid companions that you can also recruit animals into your company of mercenaries as well. You can recruit boars and wolves and bears, and even your horses or ponies can fight on your side too. So there is a ton of different elements that they are all throwing into this rather seemingly simple game. There's a really nice story involved in this game as well, where you kind of get to help or hinder the refugees of the land. And of course, that has an impact on the world. There's also ancient tombs for you to explore. And a small feature as well is that yes, this game is actually now voice acted. From what I can tell, it wasn't voice acted on initial release. But if you go in and talk to the tavern, pick up a little quest, talk to a shop owner, whoever you want, most of the NPCs are voice dialogue. It's the small touches that kind of help you get enthralled into this game. Another little thing that I quite like is the fact that your companions can build up relationships with each other. Some of them may hate each other, while others may grow to love each other. And your companions also take on little personality traits. Monk here, for instance, ended up being a bit of a grumpy drools. All in all, though, this game can be completed in around 40 to 50 hours. If you want to be a completionist, it could take you up to 80 hours to complete it. This isn't an absolute monstrous game, but it is deep and intricate. There are systems involved in this game that I honestly didn't even find until 6, 7, 8 hours into the game, which is kind of embarrassing. But it does kind of go and lean in towards the fact that this game does need a better tutorial. I understand that this is a smaller game with a smaller team, so hopefully it will continue to evolve along the way and perhaps even get that tutorial for the game that I believe the players are probably going to need. I should also probably point out that this is a permadeath style of game. So if you have your 4 companions at the beginning of the game and you have leveled them up, you've taken them all the way up to say level 7 or something, and one of those dies, well, that absolutely sucks. It's part of the strategic side of this game to kind of make sure that your companions make it out of those battles alive. You can, of course, go to another tavern and recruit someone else. You can even go to the dungeons and recruit someone that's been imprisoned. But of course, those guys aren't going to be as good as the one that you spent all those painstaking hours on leveling up. And of course, don't forget you've also invested in jobs. Now, one thing I didn't mention is that you can become proficient in your job. When you start out, you're just a novice, and as you go through, you become very rather good at whichever skill you're trying to learn. So losing one of those companions can really suck at times. Personally, I love permadeath games, but I should really point it out because some people absolutely hate them, and I can understand why. All in all, I feel like this is a very, very good game. I kind of wish that I jumped on it a lot sooner and beforehand, but you know what? It is what it is. I'm really glad that I found this game, and I'm going to try and invest as much time as possible in it. I'm going to give this game a 7 out of 10. This game only sets you back around £30 depending on which platform you're buying it on. It is available on Windows, Xbox, and the Switch. And honestly, I can say that I have enjoyed this game, and for the price, I think it's a really good value for money as well. I also haven't had any dashes or crashes or anything that you would expect in games released in 2023. So the game works and performs really well too, so that should also be commended. But if you've watched to the very end of this review, a big thank you to you. Don't forget to comment red banana down below just to confuse all those people new to the channel or that didn't watch to the very end. I also have an active and growing Discord, so if you fancy joining that Discord, coming and saying hi and chatting about whatever game you happen to be playing, you can find the link down in the description of the video. But until next time, I've been a monk who's been a critically curious, and I'll see you in the next video real soon. Until then, take it easy and happy gaming.